What is the smallest thing that can change the fate of the world?
What is the smallest thing that can change the fate of the world? Bilbo Baggins woke in blackness. Not night. Night had stars, wind, the smell of grass, and a moon somewhere above the fields. This was older than night. This was stone pressing close on every side, cold under his cheek, wet beneath his fingers, silent except for the far drip of water and his own frightened breathing. For a moment he did not remember his name. Then pain brought him back. His head throbbed, his knees ached, his hands were scraped raw from the fall. The dwarves were gone. Gandalf was gone. The goblins were somewhere in the dark behind him, or before him, or above him. In those tunnels, direction was a lie men told themselves before they died. But hobbits were creatures of holes and halls, and some old instinct stirred inside him. Bilbo crawled. Then he stood. Then he felt his way forward, one shaking hand against the wall. That was when his fingers touched something cold, small, round, smooth. A ring. He did not see it, he only felt it in the dirt. A little circle of metal where no little circle of metal had any right to be. Gold, though he could not know it then. Ancient, though he did not feel its age. Hungry, though it made no sound. Bilbo put it in his pocket. Not because he understood it, not because some prophecy had called his name. He pocketed it because he was alone, afraid, and hobbits are practical folk. A thing found in the dark might prove useful. Far below, water whispered over stone, and somewhere in that black belly of the mountain, something else was listening. Bilbo followed the tunnel downward. The passage sloped and twisted until the air changed. It grew colder, wetter. The smell of goblin fires faded behind him, replaced by mud, old fish, and something sourer than rot. The stone opened at last, not into freedom, but into a cavern so vast the dark itself seemed to have a roof. Before him lay a black lake. No wind troubled it. No sun had ever warmed it. Its waters lay still as polished obsidian, broken only by the soft plink of drops falling from unseen stone teeth above. Bilbo stood on the shore and felt suddenly very small, a lost child in the cellar of the earth. Then pale eyes opened on the water, two lamps, cold and hungry. A little boat slid across the lake without a sound. In it crouched a creature thin as famine, with long fingers, slick skin, and a head too large for its narrow body. It was not goblin, not dwarf, not man. It had been something once, perhaps, something with a name, something with a mother. But years in the dark had gnawed at it, and loneliness had taught it to speak to itself. It called itself precious. It called the dark home. It called Bilbo dinner, though not aloud. Not yet. The creature's name was Gollum, for the wet, choking sound that lived in his throat. He knew the lake, the tunnels, the blind fish, and the soft places in goblin necks. He knew hunger better than kings knew pride. But this small stranger had a blade. So Gollum smiled his wet little smile and offered a game instead. Riddles. Old words. Sharp words. Words that could buy time, hide fear, or end a life. And Bilbo, who had no sword arm worth singing of, accepted. Bilbo's fingers closed around the ring. Gollum leaned closer, close enough that Bilbo could smell the centuries on him. "Ask us, Baggins. Ask us quick. Or we asks again, and then we eats." Bilbo tried. He genuinely tried. Kettles, buttons, bread. His poor, frightened mind offered him nothing useful except the cold truth of his own fist wrapped around something it had no right to hold. "What have I got in my pocket?" he said. The lake went still. Gollum went stiller. "That is not a riddle," Gollum whispered. "Well," Bilbo blinked, "it is a question." "Not riddles. Not proper." Gollum's eyes narrowed to pale slits. "Pocketses are private." "You told me to ask." Gollum's jaw worked. "3 guesses, precious. It gives us 3. Bilbo, thoroughly trapped by his own nonsense, nodded. "3 guesses, then." "Hands," Gollum said at once. "No." "Knife." "No." Gollum crept nearer, his fingers spreading against the stone like a spider settling its weight. "String or nothing." "That was 2 guesses," Bilbo said firmly. "String or nothing is 1 guess," Gollum snapped. "It is plainly 2. "It is plainly not." "It is plain wrong!" Gollum shrieked. For one bewildering moment, Bilbo almost felt offended on behalf of good manners. Then he remembered the creature fully intended to eat him, and the offence rather lost its footing. Gollum backed away, muttering, "Lost, lost. But we knows what we does. We goes and gets birthday present. Then we comes back, quiet as fish bones. Then crunch." "That last part was allowed," Bilbo said. Gollum did not hear him. He had already slipped into his boat and paddled toward the black island at the centre of the lake, moving with the horrible efficiency of something that had done this many, many times. Bilbo waited. Then came the sound. Not a shout, not a curse, a wound. "Lost! Lost! My precious is lost!" The cry struck the cavern walls and came back uglier each time, wrung through stone until it sounded almost human. Bilbo's hand tightened in his pocket. Gollum came back changed, his eyes wider now, wet and wild, not merely hungry, afraid. "What has it got in its pocketses?" he whispered. Bilbo stepped back. "What has it got?" Gollum shrieked, and sprang. Bilbo ran. Gollum came after him on all fours, faster than anything so wretched had any right to be. Bilbo's foot caught stone. He stumbled, his hand flew wide. The ring slid onto his finger, and the dark swallowed him whole. Gollum stopped so suddenly he nearly broke himself on the stone. Bilbo was gone. Not fled. Not hidden. Gone. "Baggins?" Gollum whispered. His head jerked left, then right, his pale eyes rolling through the dark. "Sneaky little Baggins?" Bilbo stood 3 inches away, one hand clamped over his mouth. His heart hammered so loudly he was sure the mountain heard it. Gollum's fingers scraped the very rock where Bilbo's foot had been. "Thief," he hissed. "Thief in the dark." The ring sat cold on Bilbo's finger, cold and powerful. Gollum could not see him. The goblins would not see him. No one would ever see him, not if he chose otherwise. It should have felt like safety, Instead, it felt like drowning. Gollum crawled toward the far passage, sobbing and snarling. "It goes to the back door, yes. It runs to the nasty goblins." Bilbo followed. What else was there? Turn back and die? Through cracks and twisting tunnels, Gollum led him, stopping now and then to sniff the air, while Bilbo stood stiff as stone. Those blind eyes passed over him again and again, finding nothing. At last they came to a narrow way. Beyond it glowed a faint red light. Goblin fire. The way out. But Gollum crouched before it, waiting. "He must come this way," he whispered. "Then we catches him, we squeezes, we bites." Bilbo drew his sword. One thrust would do it. Quick. Quiet. The path would be clear. Gollum had meant to kill him, to eat him. He was wicked. He was dangerous. Yet there he crouched, trembling, ruined, ancient with hunger and loneliness. A murderer, yes. A monster, yes. And something that had once been something else. Bilbo lowered the blade. Then, breath by breath, he began to move. Slowly, carefully, one hobbit foot at a time through the narrow dark, so close he could smell Gollum's wet skin and old fish breath. Gollum froze. His head tilted. "Sneaky," he whispered. Bilbo did not breathe. Then his jacket brushed Gollum's shoulder. Only a touch. Barely anything. But Gollum shrieked as if he had been stabbed. His fingers snapped shut on empty air as Bilbo stumbled forward, caught himself, and ran. Goblin guards shouted, blades flashed, hands snatched at nothing. Bilbo slipped through them like a rumour. Behind him, Gollum's voice rose from the dark. "Baggins, we hates it forever!" And beyond fear, stone, and hunger, daylight waited. It always comes back to the weight of a small thing, doesn't it?